Hello and welcome back to Russ Plays Games. My name is Russ, and as you can see, we are sitting in front of my paint station. When last we left off, we were painting the Dragonborn figure here. And so today we're going to finish that figure, and if we have time, we'll move on to a different figure. Haven't decided what exactly I'm going to move on to yet, but we'll pick something and go for it. I went to Hobby Lobby and got some brand new paints. I bought a fresh cut grass green. I got a brand new solid bronze. I got a gunmetal gray, which is going to kind of, help me with this when it runs out. And then I got a dandelion petals yellow because the yellow that I have, this cadmium yellow, is kind of running out. So I needed something new. Not that I'm using it all the time, but I, kind of noticed that it needed to happen. I also purchased a couple of new paintbrushes. So as you can see, that's a nice fine tip. Okay. And I'm going to need to grab a little bit of water. Okay. Oh, should have thought about that before I started filming. But that's all right. Okay. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is going to look at what can we do. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is grab some Caliban green. I think this was the green I used before. If not, it doesn't matter. It'll be enough. Just want to get some of these flat parts back up and highlighted just a little bit on the green cloak here. So that will begin our highlighting journey. Hope a lot of you have had an opportunity to put some of these techniques to use in your own miniature painting journey. For those 5 of you probably wondering, the apartment's mostly back to normal. So, this thing is that we are going to do. So now that we have that kind of a base layer, okay, then what we're going to do is now we're going to take a little bit brighter green color. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen these before. These are fidget poppers, okay? Now, this is a tool that I didn't know I needed. But these are made out of silicone. And as you can see, I've already kind of used a little bit of paint in it at certain junctures. What's really nice about this, okay, is that you can take and put a little drop of paint into it, like that, okay? So you put a little drop of paint in there, and when you get done, and when it dries, because silicone is hydrophobic and acrylic paints are water-based, okay, then what you can do is you can just pop the little thing up and then you just pick it out and you throw it away. It is the easiest thing in the world. I didn't believe it myself until I got one. And you can get one. You don't have to get one this big. You can actually just get one that's fairly simple. Like a dollar store or a pound store or something like that, if that's what you'd like. It is super nice. Yeah, I didn't believe it myself until I started using one, and then I was like, oh my goodness. This is something I wish I'd known about like 10 years ago. Of course, it didn't exist 10 years ago, but still, like, I remember sitting there going, no way. This is crazy. I actually saw that used on another video, because I do watch some videos from some other content creators that kind of show, like some tools that they use, and sometimes I try to use those tools to see if they work. And I saw that one of the content creators was talking about a silicone fidget popper, and they were like, "This is the tool you never knew you needed." And I thought, "There's no way, there's no way." So I went out and bought one, and this one cost me $6 at a local hardware store. But again, you don't have to buy it for that much. You can go down to a dollar store and buy one. In fact, I was going to go down and get one, and then I just happened to be at the local hardware store, and I just happened to see this, and I was like, maybe I'll give it a try. And so I did, and son of a gun, it worked super well, and I went, what? There's no way. And I gave it a try, and I went, oh my goodness, it actually does work. So if you're looking for an inexpensive paint palette where you can mix paints, where you can, do some different things, get yourself one of these little fidget poppers and go for it. You will be amazed, I guarantee you. Just like I was like, no, there's no way that this is going to work. And then all of a sudden, I'm sitting there and I'm going, no, wait, it actually works? Are you kidding me? Because again, it's hydrophobic, because Silicone is hydrophobic by nature, which means it repels water. Phobic means like to fear or to repel. Okay, so silicone being hydrophobic and acrylic paints being water based, you can take, like, if you buy some Reapers, like Master Series paints, you buy Apple Barrel, Folk Art, Anita's, any one of those type of paints, you can take those and then just squirt them in there and then just use them. I got this one because it's got like red, it's got like orange and yellow, it's got green, it's got blue, it's got purple. So I figured I'd have, most of the primary colors identified. So if I wanted to use them, I could, for whatever I wanted to use them for. And then I just have to identify like how I wanted to, like what paints I wanted to be able to throw in there. And son of a gun, it worked. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, if you're interested in it, go down to like a local dollar store, because you can, at the local dollar store, you can buy ones that are about this big and they'll have about 9 squares on them or 9 circles on them, and you can buy those, or you can buy them in like a little circle and they'll have probably about eight circles on them, and you can just dump your paints in there, and when you're done, you just wait for them to dry and then come back the next morning and throw them out and keep going. It's the easiest thing in the world. What I'm doing here is I'm edge highlighting the little cloak. I'm just making sure I'm getting all the little parts of it. Okay. And so you're going to find that when you do this kind of stuff, that you don't necessarily need a whole bunch of the you're going to find that when you do this, you don't necessarily need to hit every single little tiny point. And if you miss a few spots here and there, it's fine. It's not going to be that big of a deal. So the biggest thing that I would recommend if you're going to do this edge highlighting is get yourself a few different types of green. Okay, like you'll notice that I have a few different types of green. Okay, and then what you're going to do is, come on now. Come on. There we go. It's a little bit thicker than I'd like, but it'll work. And so you can see how light that is compared to the holly branch. And this is the fresh cut grass. Okay. And so what we're going to do is with this, we're going to come back, and this is going to be our very, very tippy tip highlighted color. And this is also, we're going to highlight some of these so like for instance on the cloak here, what we're going to do is we're going to start about a third of the way down, maybe half of the way down on her cloak here. And then we're going to just get that very, very end piece. And we're going to do the same thing up here. We're going to come in towards the end and get the corner. And then we're going to come in from the end and just kind of get the corner. And we're just going to get the corner. So basically what we're looking at here, okay, when we look at this, okay, if you can kind of see, we're just highlighting the corners and the very, very edges, okay, if that makes sense. Okay, Of course, if you need to, just clean off your brush, bring it back up. So the nice thing about this is called a Master's Touch Fine Art Studio. It is a 20-0 spotter brush. Okay, and I picked this up in Hobby Lobby, and it's about $4 or $5 for the brush. But in that, okay, you're going to find that this is going to be probably one of the best brushes that you will ever own. Okay. In fact, I have an 18-0 here, which is a Master's Touch brush that I've since, used the heck out of, and now I use it as my dry brush, right? But, I mean, this brush is probably like 5 years old at this point, and so it took me like 4 years to wear it out to the point where I was like, okay, I'll just use it as my other brush over here. So yeah, you just kind of have to decide what you're going to do with those when they kind of run out. Now, a rule about highlighting is you can overdo it very simply, okay? And so for highlighting, what we want to do is, okay, when we highlight, we just want to hit the very, very tips. So if you can see, let me do this here real quick, okay? When we highlight, okay, like on her shoulder here, okay, on her shoulder here, we don't want to hit, we just want to hit the very, very tip of the shoulder where the light is going to hit, okay? So if you think about it, if I'm standing here, right, if I'm looking like this, if you look at my shoulder, okay, the most amount of light hits up here on the top, okay? And as it comes down, you can see that like the folds of my garment and stuff kind of make a little bit of some shadow and some different definition. Now I've got a really harsh light, shining down, so it's going to look a lot different than it will be on this. But what we're looking for is we're looking to see like where does the light hit the most, and that's what we're going to highlight. Because underneath, right, if you look at the bottom of my hand versus the top of my hand, the bottom of my hand is very shadowed. Okay, still has the same color because if I turn it over, right, it's got the same color as the top half. Okay, but the difference is that in the top half here, okay, is in the light, the bottom half is in the shadow. Okay, same thing with my arm. Okay, so where are we going to hit? Well, where's the light shining the most? The light shining is the most here, so this is where we're going to highlight. Okay, but we're not going to highlight back here, and we're definitely not going to highlight under here. Okay, because if we try to do that, then it's going to throw off where the light is coming from. So we always want to have, like, for instance, the light's up here, right? Okay, so the light comes down like that, okay? So if that's our light, or if this was our light, and we were kind of, shining it on top of her like this, okay, you can kind of see where the light's going. If we're shining the light at her like this, okay, then you can kind of see where the artificial shadow comes in, okay? Because I have the highlight here on the shoulder, okay? And I know that's a little difficult to see, but basically, you know, when I have the light up like this, you can see where it starts to get bright. If I take the light away, you can kind of see that it stays bright. That's the highlight, okay? That's what we're looking for, okay? And that's the only thing that we're looking for, okay, is how are we going to highlight. So when we come to the front of her cuirass, okay, which is kind of the breastplate, kind of the thing that comes across here, okay, when we look at this breastplate in the front, okay, we notice that, like for instance, let me see here, lead belcher. When we have the lead belcher color, okay, and we want to, you know, kind of throw the highlight on there, okay, we're going to hit a little bit of the top. But then we're also going to hit the front of it. And then we're also going to hit the front side of each of these little plates that come down in the front. But we're only going to go up just a teensy weensy bit, okay, because we don't want to destroy the shadow definition, okay. So if I kind of curve my shirt like that, right, okay, you can see each individual fold, okay. And so what we're doing is we're coloring here, okay, then we're coloring here. We're not coloring all the way up, we're coloring down here, okay, and then we're coloring down here. And the reason why we're doing that is so that it highlights naturally, okay. And we can kind of do the same thing underneath, back over here, okay. And we're going to hit just a teensy weensy bit of that. And we're going to hit a teensy weensy bit of that. And that's probably good. Now, for her like knee pads and stuff, we're going to do an edge highlight on the top. And then we're going to kind of get right in the middle of each side. And then we're going to do the same thing down here. We're just gonna lighten that up just a tiny bit. What we don't want to do again is lose all that definition that we have. Okay. We can do a little edge highlight on this, and then just kind of pick out just a little bit of each of these little tiny things, because her shoulder has kind of the same thing, kind of that same folding thing where it kind of folds like that, you know, so it kind of folds up like that, okay? And so again, we're just getting all of those little tiny things. That's all we're doing. We're just kind of highlighting it up just to make it look a little bit better. So again, we're hitting here, okay? We are just getting this portion of it, okay? And then we're getting this, and then we're getting this. We're not going to get up underneath because that's where all the shade settles, okay? And that's the last thing you want to do is destroy the shade, okay? Because that's the shade. That's where the shade needs to settle to give us the definition that it looks like it's in shadow. Believe me, a lot of times you can do that with normal things and it'll work pretty well. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to come back in and we're just going to kind of generally highlight up the little sword here. Okay. Again, leaving the shade in the deepest, darkest recesses. We just want to brighten up the sword a little bit, because this is the Dragonborn. This is not somebody, I mean, you know, the sword has seen some use, but it's not so bad that the sword is dying, you know, that is raw, rusty, and nasty, and all that kind of stuff. Come on, there's a Dragonborn. I mean, you know, what do you want? Now, my white over there, so I'll have to get that later. But, okay, let's turn our attention. Let me see here. I think, let me see here. No, that's, well, I guess we could probably use it anyway. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So this is light mocha. This is the, this is another one that I can use for skin tones at times. And so sometimes I'll reserve it strictly for highlighting. Now, again, as stated before, when we do this, there's a few places we want to hit and a few places we want to avoid. Okay. I didn't need quite that much, but I mean, the problem is with a lot of these paints is when you try to squeeze out one drop, sometimes they get a little gummy up at the top, and you try to squeeze it out, and it doesn't quite always squeeze out just one little tiny drop. You end up getting a lot more than you bargained for, but that's okay. Okay. So now I'm going to take the Sun-Kissed Peach. This we're not going to do too much. We're just going to kind of grab a little bit of a highlight of the face. Kind of hard to see like that, but basically, if you can kind of see, we're getting a little bit of a highlight of the face, kind of the nose, cheekbones, that kind of stuff. Okay. Basically, we're just getting anything that's not in complete shadow. Okay. Now, and then we're getting the top of the thigh, and then I just kind of highlighted a little bit of a muscle right down there, just because it just kind of gives us a little bit of a highlight. Okay. I think what else we want to do with her. Well, I suppose we can take our moccasin brown. I believe that's what I used. It's been a while since I've done this, so forgive me if I didn't quite get all the colors correct. just kinda went like that. I meant to get to this last week and I just didn't quite get there. And really with this color, all we're looking to do is just kind of bring the shades back. Bring the highlight back very subtly. We don't need to do a lot because the thing about leather is that unless you really tan it, like tan it to hell, it's not going to be extremely bright. Especially if you use it a lot, it's going to get very dull very quickly. So you're not going to want to do a whole bunch of highlights because you don't need to. Okay. Now, we're going to start on our highlight colors. Dry brushing highlight colors. Okay. Oh, son of a biscuit. That one's not working too well. We use this one. It's the same color, basically. Okay. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want to leave the shade where it is. Okay? And so we're just kind of rebuilding the color up where it needs to be, doing that. Okay, well, let me go ahead and finish this, and when we come back, we'll start work on the dragon. So I will see you in less than a second. And we're back. So, just before the break there, I was finishing up her hair. Got a little bit on her got a little bit on her skin, but I can tidy that up later. It's not that big of a deal. Now I'm just quickly getting the scale mail with the gunmetal gray color that we painted it with the last time. And by dry brushing it like this, you just pick out the raised part of the scales without it getting too much on the places that you don't want it. Okay. So you can just kind of get it where you want it without it being too bad. Okay. All right. Now, let's take this Mornfang brown. So this is the next color in the color palette that I have. Probably need a few more brown colors, but And the biggest thing that we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to kind of bring up the brown a little bit so that it starts making the raised edges a little bit tighter. Okay, so it leaves that normal brown color kind of down in the recesses. Okay, starts to bring out a little bit more of the brown color where we want it. Okay. Now the other thing is that we don't necessarily need to get this in every single place. We don't need to get it underneath. We just want to get this over the top. Okay. So we don't need to like come under here and try to get it. We can just leave that there. Okay. Because honestly, nobody's really going to care that much. Like nobody's going to turn it over and go, oh, you didn't get the bottom. You're going to say, well, it's not a highlight anyway. Okay. Just a teensy bit, just because it is up high enough that from the table people will be able to see it. So we're definitely going to want to get those two back here. Like I said, it doesn't have to be everything. But it does have to kind of make sense. Okay. Now, after you get that color taken care of, and if you want to spend more time on it, go for it. No one's going to care. Okay. So we get that color done. Then we're going to go to the moccasin brown right here. Okay. And this moccasin brown is a much brighter, crazier color. Okay. And what this is going to do for us is this is going to start establishing more of that highlight color for us. Okay. And so you'll start to see that that didn't do much for us. Come on. There we go. That's more like it. So this is going to establish more of a highlight for us. Just the tips. Just the tip. Okay. So you want to make sure that when you're going, as you progressively get further and further up in the palette, you want to do less and less. Okay? Because it's more of an edge highlight where it's just going to be highlighting the actual the tips of things. Okay. And the more you do it, the more dramatic it will get. Okay. So you can kind of see, use our handy dandy light here, you can kind of see where it's starting to build up a little bit along the edges there. Okay. And that's what we're going to do, is we're just going to get progressively lighter and lighter and lighter as we go up. Okay. Until we get to almost white. I think we'll probably stop at the mocha layer, but we'll kind of have to see. Which I think will probably be the next layer, actually. Okay. Let me get right under the chin. Because that's kind of one place that we haven't done yet. Really well covered. Right under the chin there. There we go. Okay. The snout's still darkish brown, but I think that'll work to our advantage. Okay. Now we'll take the mocha that we poured out earlier. Okay. And now this is going to be a very, very, very light dry brush. Okay. Very, very light right on the tips. Okay, we don't want too much. Okay. So if you get too much, it's going to look artificial. Okay. So we want this near the tips. Just as a little bit of a highlight. All we want. Okay. Okay. And then, now, if we think about, well, one thing more that we can do, just to kind of give ourselves a little bit of a boost. So we can take a little drop of red, or flag red color. Okay. We're going to take a little bit of that. We're going to put that on our dry brush. Okay. Again, we don't want to overdo it. We could easily ruin the effect. But we just kind of want to bring out the individual strands of hair. Okay. And that's what we're going to do. Just like about that. Okay. Now, if you want it brighter, you can always do it more. But I'm not going to spend too much time on it. So you can do it how you want to do it. Okay. Now, one of the things that happens when you absorb a soul in Skyrim is, let's see here. Here we go. Okay, so you can probably see in the picture here that there's these like streams of like pinkish, yellowish, goldish, bluish strands that go in. And I've tried to make it work. And I mean, I tried. I tried to look at cutting little pieces of a, like a Dr. Pepper bottle or like, you know, a bottle like this. I even tried putting some Mod Podge on it and then trying to dry brush it. Wasn't going to work. I even tried, like at one point, I even tried doing some highlighter, and that didn't come out at all. Like, you can't even tell what colors I put on there. I didn't have any markers. I didn't have anything like that, so I was trying to figure out, like, what could I use. And so I finally figured out that I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to take a little bit of this ultra blue, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of do just a very, very, very light layer right around the guy here right around the head. Okay. And then, I don't know how much this is going to actually work, but I'm going to kind of stream it up the sides of her boot. So it's like she's just killed this dragon, and the dragon's soul is starting to absorb into her body. Okay? Like I said, I don't know how well this is going to work, but we'll see. Because I think what I'm going to do is next, I'm going to add yellow. If it'll even come out, I guess it won't come out. So we'll try to open her up. See if we can come from the top. Okay. And this yellow is a very transparent color, so we're going to have to be very, very careful with it. I'm going to put it up just a teensy bit higher than the blue, just to kind of make it look like it's sort of swirling up, like it's kind of absorbing up into her. Okay. We should have had the blue a little bit whiter. It's not going to look very good. I don't know if I can go back and correct it now. I don't know if this achieves what I'm looking for, but it kind of looks that way. Okay. And then I'm going to try to do, see if this works. I'm going to take some of my pink eraser, and again, this is highly experimental. Okay? May or may not work for you, may not look right, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway because, like I said, I've tried a whole bunch of different things, and nothing really worked. We are just going to take a small line of this, and we are going to put it right up the center. Okay. I don't know if that's going to show on camera because it's kind of a small effect, but it might be easier to see on that side. Can you kind of see that a little bit? Kind of odd, but basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to go for the Dragonborn, okay, has just killed the thing, and like the soul is starting to absorb into her. That was my goal. I don't know if it came through or not, but that's the idea. So, kind of what we were shooting for. Okay. So now I think what we will do is we will grab some gray. Because we'll make it kind of a stony, rocky type soil. Mostly because this little resin base I gave her is kind of more of a stone color than, and more of an actual stone pattern. I know she's kind of big on her little base there, but I'm just hoping that maybe. Probably going to use a little bit of a thinner brush. We'll figure that out when we get there. You don't have to get every little teensy weensy bit. As long as you can hit most of it, nobody's going to care. Okay. That'll work. I think that'll work. So there we go. The Dragonborn. For Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, if you want to buy the actual Dragonborn figure, I would highly recommend it. It is a really cool looking model. The one that they currently have up on their website is a really baller model. It has, it has a big Dragonborn figure that's a little bit larger than our friend Hadvar, and it's got the actual like helmet, like the iron helmet that they show in the previews and stuff. So it's got the little horns that come out around here like this, um, and like they have like a dragon tail like coming up out of the ground and kind of surrounding them. I think that's supposed to mean that like they're the Dragonborn and like they've killed the dragon and the dragon's soul's coming onto them. But yeah, there we go. That is the Dragonborn model there. And so yeah. Um, Now, what to paint next? I think what we'll do next. We'll probably call this here, but I think we will paint the Ian Crusader Mage here, because we can do some really baller object source lighting on this flame on his backhand, and he's in this really cool pose where he's got this sword like pointing it at somebody, like I'm gonna kill you either with magic or my sword. So I've always liked spell swords, like people that use both spells and swords. In fact, in a lot of the early Elder Scrolls games, I used to play spell swords just because I thought it was a hell of a lot of fun. Until I found out that stealth was a hell of a lot better. So anyway, smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think of the series so far. Let me know what you think of my little Dragonborn model here. I know she's a little bit smaller than most, but the nice thing about this is that you could paint her up as a high elf, as a wood elf, as a Dunmer, as a Breton. Which she could be a Breton or an Imperial. The other thing that you could do with her is if you painted her face and legs more of like a chocolate color, she could be a Redguard. So you could probably even get away with doing an orc with this model. It would look a little weird, but you could just paint her skin green and kind of paint her eyes a different color. So you can do that too. There's infinite possibilities with this type of a model. So yeah, just let me know what you think of the series so far, and as we say, we will see you on the next one.